Hello, 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 everyone. Thank you so much for joining me once again for another book review. We are going to jump right on into this one. I do not have the physical copy of this book, but I will attach it to this video somewhere. Okay, so that you'll know what that cover looks like. Okay, so this book is called Bitter is the Heart by Mina Hardy. I am going to start off by saying this review is going to be a bit vague due to not wanting to give too much away. Okay, I can't reveal too much because one wrong thing can unravel this, and I don't want to do that. So if it seems very vague, that is on purpose. So buckle up. Here we go. Um, this story starts off with Tamar moving back to the town where her mother Ruth and sister Lovey live. Now, shortly after moving back, Lovey and family move out of state, okay? Which then leaves Tamar to deal with her mother Ruth. And they don't have a good relationship. Ruth lives in a elderly person's facility. One night, she ends up miles away at Tamar's house. Mind you, she's never been there before. So that's a mystery in itself of how Ruth got to Tamar's house. And that starts off a chain of events that I don't think anybody sees coming. I know I didn't see none of this coming, okay? There was a lot unpacked in this, what I would say a short story. I mean, there was a lot. So you will be surprised, maybe horrified at the very least. So let me tell you about some of the characters you will encounter. Now, Tamar is divorced with no children. She may have a drinking problem at the very least. She had a troubled childhood and was treated differently than her sister Lovey. This is just the beginning of the conflict between Tamar and Ruth. Now, Ruth is currently in an assisted living facility for the elderly and has exhibited concerning behaviors, which basically gets her kicked out. Okay. And then she is forced to live with Tamar until Tamar can find other accommodations for Ruth. Ruth had a drug, alcohol, and promiscuity issue when she was in her younger years raising Tamar and Lovey. However, she got herself together soon enough to be a better mother to Lovey, which is the younger sister, than what she was as a parent to Tamar. Ruth has secrets of her own, and they slowly unravel during this story, which you will find, at the very least, disturbing. Okay. Levy and her family have moved out of state during this story, and her part, although important, is very limited. Levy is supportive of Tamar, but doesn't have the full scope of the rift between Tamar and Ruth. Lovey doesn't remember the mother Ruth was to Tamar. She doesn't remember that. So she remembers the good mom. She basically had a different motherly experience than Tamar. And Lovey was treated differently, and we eventually learn why. Let me tell you, it's a twisted shocker. It's twisted. We also briefly meet some of the following people. There is Glinda, a facility resident that alluded to strange happenings at the facility. Then there's Miguel, Tamar's youthful boyfriend that finds his way back into the picture after all of these years. Then there is Ross, Tamar's neighbor, that had an unfortunate accident. Or was it? You will have to read the book to find out. Now, there are a few more characters that I will let you find out about while reading this story. Some of them are important, but I want you to uncover those characters while you read this book. So, we are taking on a crazy, and when I say crazy, I mean crazy ride, okay? I would suggest if you are a prayerful or faithful person, spiritual person, that you might want to pray before, during, and after reading this book, okay? It's yeah. The author does a superb job of keeping you guessing as to what the heck is going on. Is Tamar drinking too much and having hallucinations, night terrors, or some other level of mental illness? Is Ruth a misunderstood old lady having age related mental and physical breakdown, possibly sundown syndrome, maybe multiple personalities, or is she evil to the core? Are they both losing a grip on reality due to past trauma and dysfunction? Well, this author keeps you at the edge of your seat when things are finally revealed. I was just like, what am I reading? What did I just read? How did you come up with this? I was like, this is, yeah, it was just really unexpected. I mean, the whole time I had the feeling of what in the world of shenanigans is this? Like, like what am I reading? The author left me wanting a better finale. Now, don't get me wrong, it was still a what in the world? But I was like, how is this going to be explained? Like what happens next? I mean, it was a very explosive ending. I will say that. I don't know if that was meant to be a cliffhanger or if that is just all we're going to get. But I felt like, in realistic terms, like, how is this ending going to be explained? And you're going to have to read the book to understand what I mean by that, okay? I'm not sure if I even want a sequel, but I was really wondering, in realistic terms, how do we explain the horror that occurred? Like, this would make an excellent horror movie. It would. It's kind of right up there with Poltergeist and some of the other demonic adjacent uh, horror movies. So yeah, I felt a variety of emotions while being taken on this crazy train. There was bewilderment, confusion. I was sickened. I was shocked. I was horrified. I would not eat while reading this book. I wanted to upchuck a couple times. Um, the book is a very good book. I typically do not read like the synopsis at the back of the book or front of the book. I try not to do that. I try to go into the story completely blind, no expectations, completely oblivious as to what I'm about to read. Yes, this story was very unexpected. If you like horror, this is a good book for you. It was a lot. It was a lot. And the author definitely did an excellent job keeping you wondering, like, what in the world is going on? I don't believe I would have picked this book knowing what I know after reading it. It would not have been on my radar at all. Okay. With all of that said, I did give this book a 9 out of 10. Okay. I listened to the audiobook version, which is 8.5 hours long. So, like I said, it's not that long of a book. It's a good weekend read. And you will be flipping the pages because you're going to want to know what the heck is going on. And the relationship between Ruth and Tamar, you're just like trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with these two. Like, come on. So, yes, the narrator did her thing. The narrator is Hallie B. Beard, and she did that. She brought this story to life for sure with the right voice inflections, with the, heightenedness in her voice or the changes in the voice to articulate what's happening was like superb. Okay. Kudos to Haley B. Beard, the narrator for the audiobook version of this story. I would actually recommend listening to the audiobook. I don't know if I would have done it more justice by just reading the physical copy. I mean, the narrator just really did like up a notch this story. It for me. Okay. So Hoopla has this categorized as adult fiction, psychological thriller, and domestic. Now, Libby has this as thriller, horror, and fiction. Storygraph has this under the category of horror, mystery, thriller, emotional, dark, and tense. And I would agree with all of that. This story consists of very disturbing content. There is violent death, there's religious content, there is an abortion mention, there's possible hallucinations, possible paranormal activity, there's trauma and abuse described, as well as what I would categorize as demonic behaviors. If you are a spiritual, religious, faith person, like if your cup isn't on full, get that together before reading this book, okay? You want to make for sure that you have your armor all the way on, okay? You because you may need to do some rebuction. just just saying. I did sleep with the lights on a couple of nights. I just FYI, I did. But if you like that kind of thing, this will be right up your alley. I don't have the physical copy of the book, so I don't know if it has any discussion questions or not. And honestly, if I had the physical copy of the book, I just would have threw it once I was done. I would have definitely had to get rid of it and get it out of my house quickly. Okay. Um. So I don't know if it has any discussion questions or not. I don't even know what the author would even put down as discussion questions because this was yeah, this was a crazy ride. Um I mean, you can really dig in and dissect this story and have a good discussion. You could talk about the moral and societal expectations that one must take care of their parent in the elderly years, no matter how they were as a parent. Okay. And obviously, this situation speaks to that because Ruth was not a very good parent to Tamar. And now here the tables are turned, and Tamar is put in a position where she has reluctantly taken her mother in. So yes, talk about that. Talk about how Tamar and Lovey had the same parent but different treatment and childhood experience with Ruth. Talk about how the parents' hurt, trauma, and dysfunction seeps down and affects the child and how that may influence their relationships, behaviors, and choices when they become adults. Is an apology from a parent a form of repentance or absolution for what they did or didn't do? Is an apology necessary for healing for the offended or the offender. Talk about the effects alcohol and drug usage may have on one's mental state, behaviors, and life choices. Talked about the missed opportunity of love, and that is referencing Tamar and Miguel. Discuss the paternity issue and how all of that played out in this story. And once you've read the book, you'll know what I mean by that statement. Um, but discuss that. Talk about what happened to the neighbor, and was that an accident or was it not an accident? What do you think? So, like I said, this is a very vague review. I want you to go figure it out for yourself. Read the book, and you will kind of understand why it is so vague. Um, all I can say is read this at your own risk, okay? I didn't get the title of this book. The title of this book doesn't even convey the thought level of what the F did I stumble upon. Like, it does not encompass what I read. I mean, yes, there was some bitterness, which yes, that does tie into the story, but that is just a small piece of the craziness that you will read. Okay. So, so yeah, you'll have to read this book for yourself. If you haven't read the book, pick it up at your own risk, read it, tell me what you think. If you have read this book, please, please, please comment your thoughts about what you felt and what you thought when reading this book, okay? And yeah, that's really all I can tell you without giving this away, which I don't want to give it away. I want you to be intrigued enough to go then pick it up for yourself and read it for yourself, okay? So, that is it for this review. As always, if you have not hit that like, share, or subscribe button, go ahead and do so. I appreciate all those that have done so already. All those that comment, I appreciate your comments. If you've liked, shared, subscribed, thank you very, very much for that. And until next time, keep turning the pages, my book lovers.